grab your whip and get out that treasure map, because we're about to embark on a journey deep into the heart of a hand-built rainforest inside of a house. Just make sure you watch out for crocodiles.
Hi, I'm Bernhard Meck. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. And this may look like an ordinary house, but it's not. Just wait until you come inside. I kept reptiles in a large rainforest exhibit in my business. When I came to Memphis, I decided that I was going to recreate that. I have turtles, fish, and caimans, all living peacefully together. They're spawning over there, in case you're wondering. Some people have asked me, what did your neighbors say? Did they know that you were building a crocodile pit at your house? I said, well, it's not really a crocodile pit. It's just a vivarium with some caiman crocodillos, which are some lovely little animals from South America. When I bought this house, I was fully determined to completely change the inside and the outside and make it my own space. And I completely gutted it out, and I knew I was going to cut a big hole in the wall and make a giant vivarium, a monster terrarium, a huge aquarium. A vivarium is really a combination of an aquarium and a terrarium. When I have to cover large surfaces to create a basin, I apply the mud either with a trowel or with my hands. After I built the concrete slab, I started building little compartments out of cinder blocks and more little slabs that created various levels, which then led to the creation of the temple ruin on one side, and it led to the sculpting of various hollow trees, and then a canopy of trees that formed a roof over the vivarium. I call it environmental sculpting. One of my specialties is building trees. I use metal lath and chicken wire and rebar. I create a cage out of it. Then I use a mortar mix. I pack it onto the outside of this cage and allow it to cure out for about 12 to 24 hours. The second coat of mud is typically the mixture that also has a color added to it to give the tree a more natural appearance. I'm going to use plastic bags, which is the most sophisticated tool that I use in my trade. I had images from Mayan temples, and then I just went at it, and it was really a labor of love that dragged on for years and years. I don't consider it finished. Well, I'm not even sure if I like it the way it is. I think I might even change it again. The stone arch that you see on the inside of the house that frames the vivarium is actually not real stone. It's concrete or mortar. Oh, yummy. The way I do these stones is I mix sand and cement. Oftentimes I add mortar cement, which makes just for a stiffer mixture. Then I pack it on. Then I use plastic to create a texture that looks kind of polished. And I take a blade and force the plastic into the grooves to create individual blocks. When people ask me, how much did you pay for all of this? I say, I remember how much I paid for the glass. I think it was $800. It's a big piece. I really think I cheated because I didn't really want to know how much I spent, and I started hiding the receipts from me because I thought I was insane. But if I actually had to tally it up, I suspect I spent about $8,000 in materials. Of course, some people ask me, why don't you just hire somebody to do this? And I would ask myself, who would I call for something like this? And I couldn't afford it anyway. Look at them snappers.
Still ahead? If you think your yard is in ruins, you ain't seen nothing yet. But up next, decking out your walls in 30s style. If your yard is feeling flat, then you gotta check these out. Whether it's creating a room made out of windows or a wall made out of lattice, here's two surreal ideas that'll add some dimension to your lawn.
Welcome to my backyard. My backyard was completely bare when I got this house, and I had no intention of leaving it like that. I wanted to create my own little world. I created a massive rockscape with a pond and a waterfall and an outdoor fireplace. I call it my Isle of Denial. The rocks that you see in my pond are actually made of recycled concrete that I packed with fresh mortar and mud and made them look like big boulders. The difference between building formal rocks like I did my vivarium with very structured elements, here what I want to do is simulate something that's as close to the natural thing as possible. The way I make some of these rocks is by simply gathering up a bunch of broken concrete, creating a solid core. Then I make a mortar mixture which consists of sand, cement, and coloring. And then I pack it on top of this broken concrete. Typically, I add more color later, and I wait for it to partially cure, and then I add stress fractures and whatever striations I may see in nature and duplicate them. Some of the rocks on my pond, I've actually redone 3 times. I have no idea how many rocks I have here, but if I counted them, there might be 30. The fireplace is really picking up on a Mayan theme that I've used in other parts of the house. It's random elements from a Mayan temple, and that's what you see at the front of the fireplace. When I built the fireplace, I used wooden forms, which are essentially lumber that you pick up at your hardware store. 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, and 2x10s, and I arranged them like big playthings and made forms out of them and screwed them together and poured the liquid mortar into it, let it set up. And when it was virtually set up, but not completely set up, I removed the forms and then started to polish them with my hands and then started carving stress fractures and individual blocks into the substrate. To create the effect that you have in a Mayan temple, I used lattice to get me an outline on the front of this fireplace. This is what I used to carve the individual sections. After that, I removed the lattice, and I just used my carving tool to do all the detail work and did cross sections just like this and got the same effect that I have inside my vivarium. Typically, when somebody comes and visits me and sees this backyard for the first time, they're incredibly impressed.